Educators, please welcome Mr. Matthew Broadhurst. Hi, Mr. Matthew.
Hello. Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for the musical introduction. I really want to have that kind of music whenever I walk into a room. That's quite something. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for joining me. Yep, as the video said, I've been in the ELT field for 10 years, 10 plus years. I started as a teacher. I've worked in publishing. I've been project manager of many of the books that we're going to talk about today with Compass. I recently went back into the classroom doing substitute teaching for kindergarten students recently, which was quite an experience, including a couple of Zoom lessons for 6-year-olds, which, I mean, if I can do that, I can do anything, because that was difficult. But today we're going to have a good session. It's not just going to be me talking the whole time. We're going to have lots of audience participation. So let me just get up and we can begin. Before we begin, during this session, to make the best use of this session for everyone, please, can you turn on your camera? I see that pretty much everyone has turned on their camera, so thank you for that. If you have turned on your camera, can you just give me a little wave? Can you just say hello so I can see? Hey, okay, that's what I like. Okay, Gina, thank you. Let me just run through the agenda for today. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to start off with 21st century skills. That's going to be our main focus. That's what Andika was talking about just before. So that I know that's important to you guys. Is anyone familiar already with 21st century skills, or do you have some knowledge of this? Do you have no knowledge? Are you very knowledgeable, or are you just kind of waiting to see what we're going to talk about? Again, please just put anything down in the chat if you know about 21st century skills. If you don't know, I just want to get an idea of where we all stand on this. Okay, well, I'll assume that maybe we don't know. Critical thinking, okay, Adolfina, good. The 4 C's, yes. Okay, this is good. Yeah, I'll get into that in a little bit. Good, yeah. So we do have some knowledge in the room. That's good. So yeah, I'll talk about the 21st century skills with you guys. That's going to be the main focus. Then we're going to get into the English for primary section. So we are focusing on primary students today. So the Compass courses, Hangout, Big Show, and English Chest. I'll go through each of the courses. I'll give you a brief overview of them. And then because we'll have talked about 21st century skills before, then I'll try and bring some of those skills into each of those books and tell you how you can teach them with the 21st century skills in mind. And then we'll end on 21st century classroom, so the digital side of it. And particularly, again, how the Compass courses can help you with that. So again, for you guys, it should be easy enough. Once you're in the classroom, the methodology is sound, everything is there, you know what you have to do, and now you just have to produce it in the room. And then we'll do a Q&A at the end. I'll answer any questions that I can. If I won't, I'll pass it over to my colleagues from Compass who might be able to help you if you've got any book-specific queries. Okay, I'm seeing a few things in the chat. Technology skills, yep, high order thinking skills, that's really good. That's what we're going to get into now. So let's get started. 21st century skills. I saw a few people write some comments in the chat, but could anyone tell me what are 21st century skills? When I say 21st century skills, it sounds like a buzzword, but it does have meaning. What actually are these skills? I'll give you a little clue. The 4 C's. Who can tell me the 4 C's? Can tell me any one of them. Okay, Jana, communication skill. Yes, that is definitely one of them. Critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration. I saw it, yeah. Habits, yeah, they are habits. They are things that as students and teachers, we need to get into the habit of using. Yeah, I'm seeing all of them. I'm hearing, yes, communication, critical thinking, creativity, problem solving and leadership. That's all part of it, yeah. That's excellent, yeah. I think you got them all. Okay. So, AKA the 4 C's are critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, and communication. Yeah, particularly important for English, of course, communication. Our students need to be able to communicate the above 3 in English. That's our ultimate goal as English educators, right? So we need to foster a classroom environment in which all of these skills are being used, not necessarily all at once, all at the same time, but throughout our lesson, throughout our week, throughout our semesters, our terms, we want these skills to be used by students. Okay, these skills are life skills. Okay, they're not just skills for the classroom, they're not just skills that the students will use in the half an hour to an hour that they might be with you. They're skills that they can take with them. They can take them home, they can take them in particular forward into the world of work. Okay, so they're life skills. What do they promote, guys? What do you think? Why are these skills important? Okay, so someone says they would like to answer the question verbally. I'm quite happy with that. Putri, maybe we can have someone.
Yes, Miss Filza, yeah, Miss Filza, we can unmute your microphone, please.
Yep. So Filza, can you tell us why 21st century skills?
It's bringing a new environment for the kids and the teachers and helping us, I think.
Yeah, that's not a wrong answer. Good. A new environment. What can you elaborate on that slightly? What do you mean by that?
I mean, in my school, I had the experience about STEAM, like science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And then we are combine them for our 21st century students. And then they help us to make something new at the school.
Right.
Like
STEAM
the experiment, the fun experience.
Yes. Fun is a good word to use. It should be fun. Thank you very much for that. Yes. So kids can thrive in the world we're seeing. So fun, STEAM is a good one as well. STEAM is very much a 21st century subject. It's something that we weren't really talking about 10, 20 years ago, but now we're deep into the 21st century now. STEAM is definitely something that you see a lot of focus on. I worked on a STEAM course for Compass as well, and we talked about 21st century skills a lot while doing it. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
That's a great answer. Yes. And looking back in the chat, okay, so kids can thrive in this world. Yes, in this particular world where we are now. It's contextual to this era. Yeah, it makes sense. This is just the world that we're living in, right? It's the 21st century. When we think of 21st century, we think of technology, we think of social media, we think of YouTube, we think of Twitter, we think of all of these ways of communicating with the world. We think of these modern jobs, and students, they need some experience with that at a young age. So I'm going to tell you what I think. I think that these 21st century skills promote flexibility. So not always, being so rigid, not only accepting one answer. There's always more than one answer. It's you as a teacher being flexible, listening to your students should they come up with something that maybe you weren't thinking of. Initiative. Yeah, we want students, leadership was another word that we heard in the chat. Yeah, initiative, students taking initiative and thinking for themselves. We don't just want to be lecturing to them and having them writing notes. We want them to be thinking, we want them to be talking to us. Again, if we're imagining this should be ending up in the office at some point, we want them to be people that in a meeting, they can stand up and say, I have an idea. So yes, flexibility, initiative, social skills. So they're not just going to be working by themselves, they're working with others. They need to get along with others. They need to collaborate, one of our buzzwords. Productivity, and leadership. Yeah, so that links to initiative, but leadership. We want all of the students to feel that they can lead a discussion, that they could lead a group project, that they don't just have to shrink into the background, that they can work together with others. So let's go through each of the 21st century skills one by one. So critical thinking. What do we mean by critical thinking? Can anyone, what does it mean? What does critical thinking mean? Can anyone say in the chat, or if they want to raise their hand? Curiosity. Yep, that's a good one. Yep, analyzing, observing, right? So we don't want students to just, again, absorb information that we give them. We want them to look at the information and kind of question it, possibly. Yes, problem solving, analyzing, looking at the problem in a different way. If you look at the picture for this one, you can see some critical thinking going on. You can see collaboration as well. They all of these skills, they all work together. They don't all work kind of individually. Thank you for that. Yes, and if we look in the chat again, creative, evaluating, expressing themselves, analyzing is a good one. Yep. Okay, so not only solving the problems, but coming up with new creative ideas as well. That's good. And creativity is one of the 4 C's. So let me show you what I had for this. So students aren't just learning facts and figures. We're also teaching them, I'm sure you've heard the phrase learning to learn, right? We're not just teaching them something, but they're learning how to discover these things for themselves. So you could present them with a lot of information that they have to kind of sift through and find the pertinent facts, or we could be teaching them about how to do research on the internet, how to look at sources and make sure that the source that you're looking at is reliable. Where are they getting their facts and information from? Don't just take everything you see at face value. Yeah, so think for yourselves. You could do this in the classroom. You could maybe present, do some research on a topic, present 2 articles about it and show it to the students. One maybe for something, one against, or they have slightly different information in them. One is maybe more correct than the others, and they have to look at them. And what do they think about this? Do they believe what the author is saying? Because, that's something that's very, it's a big issue at the moment, right? Fake news, yeah, lots of misinformation on the internet. It's out there. So they have to be able to look at it and make a judgment for themselves. So they have to learn to ask why. And they have to think. We want our students to think about the world around them. And yes, Miss Maris in the chat, analyze and evaluate and make judgments. Yeah, we want them to make their own judgments. We're not just sitting there listening to the teacher and then leaving the classroom. We want interaction. We want them thinking and using their brains. We want them to learn how to use creativity. So how does creativity come into the 21st century classroom? Does anyone have any ideas? When we say creativity, are we thinking of, painting a pretty picture? What are we thinking when we say creativity in the 21st century classroom? Okay, Tadora, problems make us creative. Yeah, creative problem solving. Yeah, find another solution to problems. So using that creative part of the brain, but not necessarily constricting it to the art classroom. Yeah, we're using it in the English classroom. We're using it during science. We're using it during math. An analytical mindset. Yeah, unique ideas and innovation. So looking at a problem from one angle, thinking of a solution, looking at it from a different angle, having different ideas. Yeah, fun. Fun, again, that's a word that we've heard a few times. Fun is important. I think this can sound quite dry, but it should be fun. It should be a way of getting the students involved in a topic. Yes, divergent thinking, different possibilities, seeing things from different perspectives. Yeah, guys, these are all great ideas. Yeah, this is how we use creativity in the 21st century classroom. So it's not about being artistic per se, but it's an artistic mindset. It's a creative approach to answering questions. We want students to look at problems from multiple perspectives. We don't want them just trying the same thing over and over again. If something isn't working, if they're not understanding the solution, try something different. Okay, let's look at it from a different angle. Yeah. So if a student really just doesn't grasp a particular grammar issue, or they just can't pronounce this word, let's break it down for them. Let's show them some different examples. Let the students try and use their own creativity to help themselves. Right. Again, in the chat, solving problems from different perspectives. That's really what it is. It's looking at things from a different angle. It's saying, this isn't working. Why is this not working? And instead of giving up, you're thinking of it from a different angle. And creativity works best when we share it with others, which leads us to the next C, collaboration. So what about collaboration in the English classroom, in the 21st century classroom? How can that take shape? What can that look like? Give me some ideas. What's collaboration mean in this context? Team, right. Working as a team, cooperation, studying and working together and learning together. Yep. Could be like a jigsaw, right? That's an example. You can have some collaborative projects in your team. It doesn't even necessarily need to be related to what you're doing in the lesson, but you can have some time for collaboration. Yeah. Teamwork, some team projects. Yeah. Organizations. In this case, we're talking about students. So students working together to achieve a goal. You may have a good idea, but you may have half an idea. Someone else may have half an idea. Individually, you only have 50% of an idea. If you are collaborating and working together, you may have something. Yeah, you may be onto something. Sharing your opinions. Yeah, we don't want students having great ideas, thinking it's not good enough, staying quiet, and then leaving the classroom. Yeah, they may have had something. So collaboration is students working together to achieve a goal. And it's important not just for the classroom, but it's good practice for the future workplace. As these students, they're rarely going to be working alone. Often you are tasked working with a team, or you may just be tasked with something individually. But if you have a good relationship with your co-workers, you can collaborate. I have an idea, I can't quite work out how to do this. I know you're good at this. Yeah, debating, they could be debating ideas as well. And if you collaborate, you'll learn that not everyone thinks the same. They may agree or disagree with you. This is a skill for these students to have, is hearing someone say, actually, I think that's wrong, and learning how to deal with that. Learning to deal when someone disagrees with you, as well as learning to obviously enjoy the praise of someone saying that's a great idea. As a teacher, you don't want to be telling students necessarily that what they're saying is wrong, but if they're working in a team, there is going to be that slight clash perhaps of personality. So part of collaboration is dealing with that, is dealing with these two people have different ideas. How can they debate? How can they talk to each other respectfully and, you know, come up with a solution? So when you are collaborating, it is very important to work on your communication skills. So how can communication work in our classroom, and why? Why is communication so important? Sharing information. Yep. Discussion to get the best solution. Yep. Sharing ideas, sharing your opinions, sharing your ideas. Yeah, it's really the key. Yeah, to avoid misunderstanding. Again, when you are collaborating with others, there will be miscommunication, there will be misunderstanding. So communication, yeah, it's about discussion. It's about coming up with solutions. It's about respecting others as well. Yeah, that is very key, important, because these are students, these are still children that we're teaching. Yep. So a lot of it is about teaching them how things work in the world and how to deal with other people. Discussion, yeah, working together, understanding, and also a key part of communication. So if you think of the four key skills of communication of English that we're teaching, reading, writing, listening, and speaking, they all come in here in communication. It's not just about speaking with others, it's about listening to others as well. That is an important skill, so that you can be understood, so that you can understand other people, so you can understand not only their English, but also the meaning behind what they're trying to say. So communication, it's important to get your thoughts across quickly because again, we have a classroom environment. Students can't be standing there for minutes at a time trying to express themselves and clearly. Presentation skills. So perhaps we've had a team project, and at the end of it, someone or the whole team needs to present. We need them to speak. So they need to learn how to speak to an audience. They need to know how to speak to, being careful of tone, being respectful of others, and how to efficiently present their ideas to others, not to waste too much time, to make sure that they are understood by others. Okay, speaking of time, I don't want us to run out of it. So the 4 C's work together. Okay, as we've seen, they don't work individually. So critical thinking teaches students to look for the truth. Creativity teaches them to think as only they can. Yeah, everyone has something to input into this discussion. There is no one correct answer. Collaboration teaches students to work as a team. This is really important. And communication teaches them how to present their ideas, not just present, but also listen to others as well. And present doesn't just mean present to the class, it means present in a group. If you have an idea, a great idea of how to solve this problem that the teacher has given you, you need to be able to tell your other students what it is that you're thinking. So just a few more things, I'll just check what people were saying in the chat. So communication is delivering information, including attitude. Yes, attitude is very important. It can improve your personal relationships. Yeah, moving forward, you're going to need these when, if you're in the workplace. Yeah, we're assuming that we're trying to set our students up for a successful future. Yeah, so they have to be able to understand and be understood. That's great. Thank you. So the 4 C's work together. I'm going to show you an example of how the 4 C's can work together. So critical thinking and creativity really go hand in hand. Let's see it in action. So using critical thinking, you define a problem. So the teacher sets a task, you use critical thinking, you define the problem. What is it that we need to do? For example, you could have, a puzzle, that was a good one. Or maybe you give them, matchstick tower, or they have to make a bridge using Lego or something, yeah? So define the problem. What is it that we actually need to do? Then they use their communication, their creativity, and they brainstorm some solutions. They then plan and they research using their critical thinking. How can we fix this? Yeah, how can we solve this problem that we've been tasked with? Using the creativity, they choose one and they develop that solution. They follow it through to the end. Once they're finished, look at it again. Use your critical thinking brain. Evaluate the solution. Does this work? Does it not work? It doesn't work. Okay, let's use our creativity one more time. How can we improve that solution? We looked at it from this angle. We looked at it from that angle. It's still not working. Let's try one more time. And of course, all the way through this, collaboration comes in. Decision-making. If you have a number of different solutions, you have to decide which one to go through with. How do you decide? Is it just the loudest voice in the team? It shouldn't be. It should be the best idea. If you have a great idea, but the other team members don't agree with it, sometimes you have to learn to just, okay, let's try your idea. If it doesn't work, they might come back to your idea. Delegation of tasks. Everyone has a particular skill that they're good at. Yeah, so collaboration is sometimes about doing nothing at all. If you know that someone else in your team is particularly good at something, you might delegate that task to them. You focus on something else. You produce the work, and at the end of it, once you're finished with the task, you need to report the work. And communication comes in, not just at the end, but the whole way through. So it's listening, reading, writing, speaking. It's very important at the beginning, you listen to the task. It's very important in exams, listen to the question. Read the question, make sure that you are answering the question that was given and not a version of the question that you thought you were given. Yeah. And then when it comes to production, you may need to write something, you may need to speak to each other or to the class. Your idea needs to come through. Yeah. So with critical thinking, we've got something in the chat. Students don't just learn a set of facts and figures. Instead, they learn how to discover the facts and figures for themselves. Yeah, exactly. That's what we were talking about, right? They're not just given 500-word essay and said, this is it. These are the objective facts on this situation. Job done. You want them to look at it, question it, look for different sources, maybe go home and research themselves. So how can we use the 21st century skills in the classroom? I'll throw this one over to you guys again. So how can we foster these skills in our English classroom? what can we do to ensure that we're using a 21st century mindset when we're teaching? What do you guys think? Put something in the chat if you can, otherwise I'll show you my ideas, but I'd love to hear yours too. Okay, so we can encourage student interaction. Wherever possible, let's have students working with each other, working with their peers. They can use pair work and group work. Yeah, we can set them up for group discussions. Yeah, an observing environment. Okay, in the chat, very good. Yeah, we can try and present topics that inspire discussion. So topics that students are passionate about. You know, young students, they do get passionate about certain topics. You know, they care about injustices in the world. So climate change, vegetarianism, these are things that could foster some really interesting debates in our classrooms. You put them in a group and they can really discuss to each other. So we can give them a case study, yeah, in the chat, yeah. We are trying to prepare them, yes, for a life of independence and purposeful thought. We want these students, when they're grown up, we don't want them to just accept everything that they're given. We don't want them to just accept the information that they are told. We want them to question it and think for themselves. Yeah, and yes, we want the students to give their ideas freely. We want them to feel that they can say, teacher, I disagree with you on this. I think this, yeah? So we need to have an environment in the classroom in which students feel that they can share their opinions. We want to ask students to relate topics to their own lives. So we don't want to present topics that have no relation to our students. And we want them to feel that every topic has a connection to themselves, because when they feel that the topic has a connection to them, to their own lives, to their lived experiences, they're going to connect to it more. They're going to be more passionate about it. And we would like to give them opportunities to present. To present could mean present to the class. It could just mean talk as a team. It could just be to us as a teacher, just walking around the classroom. It could be a piece of writing. We want them to express themselves. A couple more ideas of how to do that. We can have hands-on activities and projects. Try some team building activities. Yeah, we could start a class or start a session off like this. I mentioned it earlier, you could try and make a tower or a bridge. Who can make the tallest tower? Who can make the strongest bridge? I'm sure we've done things like this before, team building sessions, but it's good for students as well. They have to work together. They have to be creative. They have to use critical thinking. They have to collaborate. They have to use all of these skills. Lots of games. Yep, students like games, gamification, right? It works. We could use videos. We could use some 21st century sources. You know, we could use YouTube videos from different topics. We could maybe show some short videos from 2 different content creators presented in different ways on the same topic. And we could ask them, okay, which one do you believe more? Which one looks more reputable? Ask them to use some media literacy, right? This YouTube video has lots of subscribers and it has lots of views, but I'm not quite sure about where they're getting their sources from. This one with a lower number of subscribers is really using a lot of sources, and I can click through onto these links. So I really kind of believe this one more. And we can ask them to do their own research online safely. Yeah, it's about media literacy. It's about using critical thinking, the sources that you're using online as well. These are all skills that students will need in the 21st century. Okay, I wonder, I hope you don't hate bugs. I wonder, what does inductive learning, first of all, does anyone know what inductive learning means? So inductive learning is a way that we can teach these 21st century ideas in our classroom. Does anyone know what it means? Okay, so we've got some ideas in the chat. Observing, study from a specific topic. Yeah. So inductive learning, okay, here we go. Yeah, so this one, we're going to talk about kinds of insect. Yes, that's good. Using our instincts. So it's kind of like what I was trying to do earlier when I was showing you those pictures. I didn't tell you what we were talking about. I was trying to draw your attention towards different things. So you don't immediately present the topic with inductive learning, right? You start from, yeah, here we go. Satika has it. Study from something small until you reach the large bit. Yeah, it's kind of like discovery learning, yeah. Okay, so I'll tell you more about what it is in a moment. But first of all, guys, what can you see? Look at the picture. What can you see? What do you see? Okay, yeah, okay, good. Insects. What do you notice about them? What kinds of insects can you see? They all look very different. All right, I can see butterflies. Yes, I can see a butterfly. Cockroach, ladybug, yeah. Bee, yeah, it could be a bee or a wasp, yeah. So butterflies again, yeah. Some people, yeah, dragonfly, grasshoppers. There's a beetle there. There's a cockroach. I can see, okay, I think this guy in the middle might be a cicada. No, I thought it was my connection. I think it was everyone, right? So what is the same about these creatures that we see? They have wings. I saw a few people mention. What else do they have? 6 legs. Excellent. Many legs. Yeah, specifically they have 6 legs. What do they all have at the front? What do they all have on top of antenna? Asmara, thank you. Those were my antenna. They have antenna. They have 6 legs. You can't quite see it, but their bodies, they have 3 parts to their bodies, right? Can you notice it? So you can see the head, I believe what's called what, the thorax, and the abdomen. Yes, they have wings. So you guys already said it at the beginning, but these are insects. Yeah, and insects have wings. Not all of them, but most of them. They all have antenna. They all have a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. Wow, correct. They all have 6 legs. Can you notice? Yeah, all of them. Count them. If you don't believe me, they all have 6 legs. They all have a head. They all have antenna. They've got these 3-part bodies. They've got wings. So that is an example of inductive learning. You put something on the board and you ask the students to grab the specifics first, to notice the specifics. Once they've noticed them, then you explain the topic as a whole. These are insects. Insects have 6 legs. They have antenna. They have a head, thorax, and abdomen. They have wings. If we were going to use deductive learning, how would we do this if we were doing deductive learning? Does anyone have an idea? If you want to take a guess, it's the opposite of inductive learning. So yeah, it can be about fun facts, but it's about the order of the information in which you present it. That's what makes it inductive versus deductive. Yeah, it's the opposite. You directly tell them about the topic, right? So what I would do if I were to do deductive learning with these images, I would show an insect. I would say, guys, this is an insect. Insects have 3 body parts. They have antenna. They have 6 legs. They often have wings. And then you move on to the next one. You say, this is also an insect. These guys have 3 body parts, antenna, 6 legs. Yeah. So you start off explaining everything and then you kind of go through. Inductive, you don't explain really anything in the beginning and you want the students to work it out for themselves. Right, concepts, discovery by observing, yes, is inductive. So both of these are legitimate ways of teaching. Of course, deductive learning is perhaps the way that was more traditionally used in the past. Your teacher would say, today's topic is X, and then would go through and tell you about it. Inductive learning is about the students experiencing it for themselves. Right, CT, thank you. Also known as discovery learning, a process where the learner discovers rules by observing examples. Great. So for inductive learning, the steps, it's a discovery learning, yeah, that focuses on the student. So you show a few examples of a targeted skill or really anything. So I used insects in this one and ask the students what they notice. Okay. So simply by engaging it, simply by asking them to describe what they see in a directed conversation, it's not totally free form. You are directing them in some respects. They notice the pattern. And finally, you explicitly expose them to the pattern. Okay, I have a bit more on this before we move on, but because it's been 1 hour, I think maybe, Putri, should we take a 5-minute break and come back? Thank you very much. Okay, I hope you had a stretch and a glass of water. Let's return to inductive versus deductive learning. So let's have a look at this. Now, this is an image from one of the courses that we're about to start talking about. This is from Hangout. So the topic is clothes. And if you see here, the grammar point is present progressive. So I'm wearing black shoes. He's wearing brown pants. She's wearing a green skirt. How would you, as teachers, teach this if you were teaching in an inductive learning way? Can you give me some ideas? Put something in the chat. If you want, you can raise your hand. It'd be great to hear from you. How would you teach this page using an inductive or a deductive learning technique? Okay, yep, a good way of starting it. What are you wearing today? What are you wearing today? And you're trying to elicit them to say a full sentence, right? You don't just want them to say sneakers or a t-shirt. Yeah, you want them to say, I'm wearing brown shoes. I'm wearing a red t-shirt. How else could you get them? I mean, we have a great, good, Rosa Marie, thank you. What do they see in the picture? So we got this great big image here, this lovely illustration. We could ask them about the picture. What do you see here? What are they doing? Okay, so we see the door is very large in this image. It looks like they're going out somewhere. Okay, what are they wearing? So she's wearing a great floral shirt, isn't she? Yeah, what colors are it? Good. Rosa Marie, thank you. If it was deductive, you would start off saying, today we're doing about my clothes. We're going to learn jacket, skirt, ring, shirt, our grammar point for the day. So in Hangout, these are course characters, I believe, right? So the students, they know these characters. They've seen them already. They're probably noticing, oh, these guys are wearing different clothes to what they usually wear. Okay, I see the door large in the frame. I think they're going somewhere. Where are they going? What do you think? He's quite dressed up. Look, he's got a shirt. He's got some great boots on. She's got her skirt on. What about the boy? He doesn't look particularly dressed up. How does he look? Look at his expression. Just try and get them talking about the image. Oh, maybe he doesn't want to go out. Maybe they're going out somewhere, but he thinks it's going to be boring. Maybe they're going to the theater, perhaps, and he doesn't want to go. And then you're trying to get them to use these words: jacket, skirt, ring, look at her ring, shirt, pants, shoes. Who's got a watch on? The man has a watch on, and boots. He's got some great boots. Yeah, and again, if you're doing it deductive, then you would start by saying, look at the grammar point, I'm wearing. Yeah, if it was inductive, you could maybe put these words on the board and ask the students to read them. What do they notice? What do you notice about these sentences? I'm wearing, he's wearing, she's wearing. So instead of telling them outright, you're trying to elicit from them the answers. Oh, I can see an apostrophe. I can see the use of pronouns here. Yeah, I can see ing in every sentence. Once you've got that from the students, very good. This is the present progressive. This is how we talk about something happening right now. Okay, I'll give you one more example. So this is another page from Hangout. It's in the same unit. We're still talking about clothes, but now we're in the CLIL section. Yeah. So now we're in the real world section. And we're talking specifically about hats in this case, different types of hats around the world. Yeah. So how could you teach this in an inductive or a deductive way? Any ideas? If not, I'll go through what I think. So if it's an inductive way, what do you notice about these people? To start with a riddle. Sure, Tadora, yeah. Start with something fun just to get them started, right? I can see people wearing different hats. What hats can you see on this page? Look at the boy. Look at the boy's hat. What kind of hat is that? When would you wear that hat? Would you wear that hat in summer? No. Yeah. Where do you think he lives? He must live somewhere very cold. What about her? Look at her hat. Why is she wearing it? She could be protecting herself from the sun or from the rain. And the same for his hat. Yeah, and then you could go through the section and talk about it in detail. So he's from Siberia. This man is from Cuba. She's from Vietnam. What about in your country? Do you guys wear any hats? Do you wear a hat when it's sunny outside? Do you wear when it gets cold? What other reasons might people wear hats? Fashion, yeah, to cover their hair, yeah. Many different reasons people might wear hats. So if you're doing an inductive learning lesson, you might just want to encourage some debate right at the beginning, yeah. Whereas deductive, you're going to go straight into it. You're going to say, today we're learning about hats. We're going to learn about how hats can be used for many different reasons. And then you would go into the reading. They're both legitimate ways of doing a lesson. But in my opinion, the inductive way is the best way to get these 21st century skills out there right from the start of the lesson. So just looking at them briefly to finish for this bit. In inductive learning, you start with specific examples and you specifically get the students to find the examples themselves. Then you explain the general rule. So there's a period of discussion, of kind of learning, of discovery for the students. For deductive learning, you start by explaining the general rule and then you show the specific examples of the rule. They both have their place. Yeah, one is not better than the other, but inductive learning is more learner-centered. The learners are active in the process, right? I tried to use inductive learning right at the beginning when we were talking about the supermarket and the library and the emergency and the fire, right? I didn't really tell you what it was about. I just wanted you guys to talk. I wanted you guys to say what you saw. I wanted you to use the language that you might hear, what people you might see in these situations. And if that was in a real lesson, then I would end it by saying, okay, great. Today we're talking about the library. We're going to learn this expression. How may I help you? We're going to learn these vocabulary words: photocopy, scanner, library card. Yeah. But in the beginning, you guys were active. You were learning. You were using your language. You were thinking. You were using your brains. So it helps students to notice patterns in language and in real life. Yeah. If you just tell them, this is the present progressive uses ing. Okay. They might get that. But if you ask them to look for it themselves, they have a connection there. There's something a bit deeper. They worked it out by themselves. So they feel that more of achievement, right? And they learn how to learn. They learn to notice it if they're watching some TV. If they hear, oh, he said ing, he's using the present progressive. It can take longer. It can take longer to use inductive learning than deductive learning. But ultimately, it's more rewarding for you and for the students, right? So if you have the time, it's a good way, I think, for setting up a lesson. And it uses these 21st century skills. It uses critical thinking, it uses creativity, collaboration, and communication. We used all of those when you guys were in the chat, when you were talking to me. You were using all of these skills. Okay, so let's move into the book section of this. So I'm going to go through these books rather speedily because there are 3 of them and we're running out of time. But these are the books. And if you've used these books before, or if you've never used these books, maybe you can see them now in a new light, right? Thinking about 21st century skills, thinking about how you might teach these books now. What I'm basically going to explain is, these books are sound, pedagogically, methodology is all good, it's all sound, it's all there. So you guys don't really have to worry about what you're teaching. You just need to think about how you're going to teach it. How are you going to present this in the best way for your students? So these courses, Hangout, Big Show, and English Chest. Start with Hangout. It has 7 levels. So we start with the starter, we go all the way up to Hangout, Hangout 6. As with all of the books, we're going to talk about student book, workbook, and teacher's guide. So there's a lot of material. A student book, you can use in class. Workbook could be homework or it could be supplemental during the classroom. And the teacher's guide is there for you guys. It will, help you use these books, right? Help explain it, help go through for you. So all of the Compass books are aligned to the CEFR in some way. As you can see here, starts at pre-A1, goes all the way up to B1. So it's got quite a high exit level, the highest of the 3 books that I'm going to talk about. So you start with pre-A1. And if you look, it's very carefully graded, right? There aren't these big jumps. So once you finish level 1, you start level 2 still in A1, right? So you're not just suddenly jumping to the middle of A2. So the students can't do it. In theory, you can go through all of the books, good, slow, steady progression. So while, if you just do starter and then level 6, there's a big gap there, but all the other books in between, they're taking the students through for the whole of primary. There are also, of course, a lot of extra resources for you as a teacher, right? There are word lists, there's tests. Every unit has a test. There's midterm and final. There's placement tests at the beginning. You've got flashcards to help you in the classroom, worksheets. Should you run out of time? Should you need something else for your students, for fast finishers maybe? And of course, answer keys. So you don't need to work the answers out yourself. It's all there for you. So inside the book for Hangout, 9 units. Every 3 units, you have a review. So lots of review, lots of time for students to look over what they've done. Yeah, you don't want to keep doing it and then moving on to the next thing. You want them to really get that information in their head. Every book starts with a welcome unit, just some basic stuff that there's not necessarily going to be taught in the book, but they need to know it. So, you know, book 1 starts with the alphabet, right? They need to have that before they do anything else. And you've got the songs and chants throughout the course, and the lyrics are there, and stickers as well. Who doesn't love a sticker? I love a sticker. Okay, and then the structure of the unit. So if you can see, this is just like what I showed you earlier, right? This is the large image that starts off the unit. So if you're thinking in a 21st century, in an inductive thinking mindset, then you can start with this. Wow, what are we talking about today, guys? What are we going to talk about? What do you see? You've got the 8 vocabulary words and the 1 grammar structure. And it is continued on the next 2 pages with further practice. Yeah. So they learn it here and they use it here. On the next spread, they've got more words, right? They learn it, another 8 vocab words, another structure. The CLIL reading brings it into the real world. Another way of looking at things, really a very 21st century way of looking at things, right? You can get some debates going. You can bring in some videos at this point, right? You can ask them to use their own knowledge, and then some output. Now, communication essential. So it ends with the writing. Yep, so I'll just flick through this. Again, this is the introduction to the unit. You've got the big image. You can use the inductive learning here. Then you've got the further practice, right? So they can practice their grammar. I am, is, are, wearing, right? What's the right answer? Yeah, they can do that themselves. When we add further vocabulary, which is previewed here in the comics, yeah? So if you can see, sweatshirt is one of the new words here in the second section, and sweatshirt is introduced first in the comic, right? So there's lots of different ways. We've got songs, we've got big images, we've got chants, we've got comics. Every page trying to mix things up, keep it interesting. Yeah, and then here we've got the question form. Is he, she wearing? Yes, no, right? So it's not totally different to the grammar that came before it, but it's just expanding upon it. Then we have the CLIL page, right? So now they've learned all the vocabulary, all the grammar that they need. Now let's expand on it. Now let's just give them some real world context, and ending up with the end. It's a little bit of writing section, right? So now we've got all the input. Now let's get some output in there. And throughout this unit, you can be using your 21st century skills, right? You can get students to work together. You can work as a class. Especially the CLIL section in the opening page really lends itself to some inductive learning, right? The whole team the whole class thinking, the whole class working together. The workbook, this is an example of the workbook. So it gives some further practice, more writing. You have some drawing, so personalization, creativity. They can check what they know, check their own learning, right? Self-assessment. A little bit of personalization. And then some of the other pages look more like this. So just more further practice, right? Making sure that they get it. In the teacher's guide, you've got these great boxes at the beginning of each unit. So it tells you what the lesson objective is, tells you the vocabulary, tells you the structure, present progressive to describe what someone is wearing, yeah? Tells you the other materials that you can be using. So everything's here at a glance. If you only have a few moments before you're running into class, I know you teachers, you guys are busy, you can just look at this. Okay, this is what I'm doing today, right? And then you know what you're doing, and then you can help the students do what they need to do. So that's Hangout. If you guys have any questions about Hangout, put them in the box and we'll get to them at the end. Big show. So Big Show, this is what it says about itself. Takes students gradually from producing single phrases to producing complex sentences in widening topic areas and solutions, okay? So again, starting small, ending up big. It has student book, teacher's guide, and workbook in 6 levels. It doesn't have 7, it has 6. We have a student book, we have a workbook, we have a teacher's guide. We've got all of these supplemental materials. And also with the same as Hangout, Classbox and Big Box, which I will get to at the end. That is the digital aspect of all of these books, right? No matter which one you're teaching in your class, you get this, these digital components as well. So again, it's aligned to the CAFR. Starting in Pre-A1, ending in A2. Slightly lower exit level than Hangout, right? Which ends in B1. But it will take students through starters, movers, and flyers Cambridge exams. So in theory, if they do this course, we teach it well, if they learn what's in the book, they can exit with a pass in the flyers exam. All of these books, good slow progression, real world English, lots of crossover, lots of using the same topics, but in a different way. So it's got a focus on structure and vocabulary, right? With context that is relevant to students' lives, something they can talk about, something they can discuss about as a class. It's got animations, it's for the songs and the readers, the CAFR competencies. Again, much like Hangout, it has clear readings, which again is a great way of bringing the 21st century skills into the classroom, and engaging activities covering all 4 language skills. That's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. So again, communication is a key part of 21st century learning, right? It's all there. Unlike Hangout, it has 12 units, but only 6 pages per unit, Going through it at a slightly different pace, and it has a review every 4 units. So still 3 reviews, but 1 every 4 units. Every level starts with an intro, so just like Hangout, some essential stuff that's not going to get covered in the book itself, but which students need to know. So here it's the alphabet. I guess this is from level 1. Every 4 units, you have the review. Again, these are the early levels, so we've got tracing here, we've got the words that are already for them. Obviously, as you progress through the levels, these words are going to drop off, so they have to work them out for themselves. But right at the beginning of the course, you're also teaching these fine motor skills as well. So tracing is very important at the very young stages. Okay, this is the first page of the unit. Unlike Hangout, you see it doesn't have the big picture, but you can still use inductive learning on this. You can say, okay, what do you see? I see a balloon, I see a ball, I see a doll, I see a cake. When might we see these items? A birthday party, okay, and then you can get talking about birthday parties. Yeah, they can personalize the information. And here's the language. Is it a kite? Yes, it is. Yeah, get them to notice the question mark, get them to notice the yes, no answers. We've got songs, there's QR codes. You can view the songs on the QR code. You can view them online. They can practice their speaking skills. We've got comics. Yeah. Again, you can walk them through the comic before actually getting them to read. So get them just to look without the words. What do they see here? What's happening? They're playing a game. Oh, what kind of cake do they have? It looks like a birthday cake. I think this is a birthday party. Yeah. Then you have a second set of vocabulary words. So 4 target words for set 2. So it's aiming slightly lower than Hangout, right? But there is a second target pattern as well. So what does he look like? He is thin. Yeah, that's different to the first one, which is what is this? Then there's the production at the end, right? Once they've got all the input, now they have to put something out. And we got some tips, some father equals dad, mother equals mom, just some extra words there that they need to know that's not necessarily covered anywhere else. And phonics as well. Other ways of looking at the words. We've got the CLIL section. Yeah, we've got the photos and the text. Community service, you can get them talking about this. Have you guys done community service? What do you think about it? Is it something that we should do? Should we make people do community service? Should it be something that you want to do? Why? These are things that you can get discussing in the classroom. So they can hone their English language skills. They've got some reading, they've got some real world context. They can use those 21st century skills. And it ends in a game, right? Not just fun, but as we discussed, the game is a good place to use these 21st century skills, right? They're working together, they're against each other, but also we don't want them to be, you know, getting into arguments. So they have to learn how to work together as a team. They have to collaborate. They have to be nice to each other. They have to be good winners. They have to be good losers. Big Show 1 to 4, it has songs and videos. Yeah, for the kids to sing along to. In 5 and 6, the songs drop out and they have movie clips, right? So it grows up slightly with the children as well. It's got the progression there. Just like Hangout, we've got different supplemental materials. We've got word lists. We've got the workbook, extra practice, right? Some games. The teacher's guide has a syllabus. So at a glance, you can see every unit. You can see the grammar focus that you'll be doing. You can see the vocabulary. You can see the phonics. You can see the CLIL section. You can plan your lessons this way. Yeah, this is also in the teacher's guide, sample lesson plans. Okay, it breaks it down for you. This might not be how many minutes you have for the class, but just take the most essential things so you can have a look. Okay, right, preview. You can change this up for yourself. Maybe you want to start off with a 5-minute warm up, like we've been discussing. You have optional sections. Yeah, if you need more time, if students aren't following, if you need extra practice, if someone finishes early, there's options for you here. Yeah, so mixed ability classes obviously can be difficult to teach. These teachers guys are here to help you. And there's CD-ROMs as well, and also the digital offering, which I'm going to get to after I talk about English Chest. So English Chest is very similar to Big Show. Okay, it's a 6-level course. It has the student book, workbook, and teacher's book. It takes students from pre-A1 to A1. So they'll start from producing simple phrases and end producing complex sentences in a widening topic areas and situations. Yeah, so lots of exposure to real world English, real situations that they'll need to know. Much like Big Show, 12 theme units, except slightly different. It has lessons in groups of 4 and they are themed. So lesson 1 to 4 is themed around the weekend. The next one's themed around my things, so possessions. And then things you can do with friends. So these are good, like overall topics that you can get students talking about, right? You can use these 21st century skills here. You can get them talking. Much like Big Show, it starts off with the vocabulary. So ask them to notice patterns. Okay, I can see these words here. Why do they have big letters here? Ah, that's because these are names. Names always have a capital letter at the beginning. Okay. Get them to notice the questions. Get them to notice the question marks at the end. Now, it's got the extra information here. It's got the apostrophes. Then we have a comic, using the language that we've just learned. More practice of language. Audio. We want speaking, right? We can get students to work in pairs. We can get them to work together. We have a small reading section, big images, simple language, simple activities. First of all, like again, this is level 1, so they're just practicing writing. We just want them tracing. Yeah, we're not frightening them off at the beginning. We're giving it nice and simple. Much like Big Show, we have some games, right? They can play some board games. They can play games in the class. So tossing the ball and talking. These are good skills. And each unit ends with a song set to the tune of a nursery rhyme. So it's familiar rhymes that they'll be familiar with. They can personalize the songs. They can change the names here. We could do it to change the names for some class members. We've got workbooks, teacher's guides with teaching tips, with warm-up activities, with follow-up activities. So if you get the time to look at any of these teacher's guide for any of these courses that you're doing, there is lots of information in there for you. You've got the syllabus, so you can have a look at a glance. What am I doing this month? Lesson plans. Yep. How should I teach a lesson? And all of the units for all of these books, they're all structured. They're all the same within the book. So the students aren't being surprised. You're not being surprised. You've got the structure there. You can use that to then elaborate on it. Use some inductive learning, yeah? Got the CD-ROM with the extra activities, flashcards, songs, tests, word lists, placement tests at the beginning, yeah? Review tests and unit review tests. So these are the courses that we're going to be using, and the 21st century classroom. Okay, this is our last section before we wrap up for questions. So the 21st century classroom. Not just talking about 21st century skills now, but about, you know, the modern classroom, yeah? So what is the 21st century classroom? Well, here's an example of it right now. I'm doing this session with you guys over Zoom, yeah? None of us are physically in the same room as each other, not even in the same country, but we're all communicating with each other, yeah? So the modern 21st century classroom is dynamic. It is connected. It is fast-paced. It is always changing. The technology is always changing. Yeah. No one had ever heard of Zoom until 2 years ago, right? And now everyone uses it. Can get instant feedback. If I ask you guys a question, I can see the answers in the chat. I can see you raise your hand. Yeah. So with any of these courses that you've got from Compass, we need a digital solution. Yeah. And there are two. So there's ClassBox and there's BigBox. So if you think of it like this, ClassBox is for teachers and BigBox is for the students. Yeah. So ClassBox has a library of interactive ebooks and a learning management system. So you can keep all of your books there in a hub, right? All of the ebooks that you need, they're all kept in ClassBox. And it's integrated with BigBox, which is the student-facing app. Yep, it's got videos, it's got books, and it has gamification, right? It's fun. So we're not just using the student books now, right? We're not just holding up the books and getting students to look in the books. There's more ways that we can get students engaged in this, in the language, right? So ClassWorks is an easy to use learning platform. You can use it in the classroom, or you can use it should you have to do remote learning. And it has digital books and it has an LMS, Learning Management System. Yes, correct. So we have digital books in ClassBox. Yeah, you can see here the link. I'm not going to show you now, but you can see the link. So if you go there, I mean, I'm sure Putri also can tell you at the end, right? An actual link if you want to sign up. You have the ebooks for all of the books that you should have a physical book of. It has markup tools, right? If you click on activity A, it's going to give you the audio for activity A. If you click on D, it's going to play the song for you. Yeah, you've got the markup tools, you know, similar to what I'm doing now. Yeah, you can highlight things, you can write text on the screen, you can personalize it as you're teaching. You can do this again in the class or over, you know, virtual teaching. Centralized resources, so everything you need is there. Some of these books come with CD-ROM, some of them don't. Everything is downloadable from the book website, but if you're using ClassBox, everything is there at once. So you want to download the MP3s, you can do that. You need the transcript for the audio, it's right there. Okay, Putri's put the link in there for you. You can have a look at that after the session. So everything is there that you need, okay? The learning management system, the LMS. So you can manage classrooms, you can assign homework, you can view reports from your students. It has integration with the BigBox Learning app. So you can get these class codes that you can send out to the students. When they click on it, they can open it in the app. Teachers can create classes and share the class code with students, right? So you can get all of your students in this class and you can have a look. You can keep tabs on what they are up to. So should you assign some homework to the students, it's going to pop up in their Big Box app. There's integration between the two. And you can track their participation and performance. You can get some kind of charts and have a look. Okay, this student's doing well, or they're progressing nicely, yeah? So you can create your own students. You can see how many registered students you have. You can see the homework that you've given. You can see the different classes that you have, yeah? Here's you assigning homework, right? So you choose a book, you choose a unit. You could do it from the student book, or you could do it from the workbook, and you can assign it. But when you do that, it's going to pop up in the student app. So your teacher has assigned Unit 4 of Big Show 3. What is your hobby? So the students get that. They click on it. They can do their homework. They complete their homework. You're going to see that in ClassBox. So you can have a look at the reporting. So it took them this long to finish Word Flash. It took them this long to do Word Match. They spent only this much listening to audio. Yeah, they got 3 points in the quiz. They got 40 points from the video, 3 points from the unscramble. Yeah, so at a glance, you can have a look at your students. How much time are they spending? What scores are they getting? Not just did they do their homework, but how did they do? So it pairs with video conferencing platform. So you can use it with Zoom like this. Yeah, you can project, you can share your screen, and you can be sharing ClassBox to your students should you have to do any virtual classes. Yeah, you can do it in class as well. You can do it with a TV, you can do it with a projector, you can do it with an IWB. Just going to bring the book to life a bit more, right, than just holding up the physical book. So if you have that, if you have the internet connection in your classroom and you have the TV, I know not every one of you will, but if you have it, it'd be great if you're using it. Yeah, it's gonna bring that class alive for the students. And then by themselves, the students can be using Big Box. So we've got these characters. Yeah, these are Monty and friends. So it's aimed for the children, right? It's user friendly. It's gamified. It's fun. This is what it looks like when they go into it. They've got videos. Reading Oceans, those are readers. Class Booster. Yeah. They can get notifications from you as the teacher if you've given them homework or something. There's videos there that they can watch. There's word cards for the words in your books, whether you're using Hangout, Big Show, or English Chest. There are quizzes. Yeah. The user interface is fun. It's aimed at children. It's colorful. It's engaging. Yeah. And within Big Box, there is Class Booster, which are the e-learning activities for the books. Yeah, this is what's linked with ClassBox. This is how you're going to assign homework and get reports on the homework you've given. They're going to get these notifications in their apps. They're going to receive coins that they can use to buy, avatar items. So here's an example of Hangout. Yeah, we've got Word Flash, Word Match, Quiz, Summary, Unscramble. So these are digitally focused activities using the content from the book. Yep, so it's gamification. So for the students, it's fun. But for you, these are points that are going to show up in your ClassBox, in your LMS. Yeah. So it's all working together. Okay, and should you have to do remote teaching? I don't know if any of you guys have done it, but if you've done it, what do you think about remote teaching? It's slightly different. What tips would you have for someone who has to do some remote teaching? So maybe, you've had a couple of positive cases in your class. Kids are at home, but they still need to learn. So you're doing the lesson over Zoom. If you have any ideas, could you pop them in the chat? How can we do remote learning? How can we, it is different to being in the classroom. It's not the same. How do we have to change the way we teach if we're doing remote teaching? So I'll tell you what I think. So I think parent support, some paper-based assignments. So parents, if parents are home, they might be very interested in these remote classes, right? You maybe want to get them involved. You also might want to take the students' eyes away from the screen, right? We don't want them staring at the screen all day. We might want a smaller number of learning objectives if we're doing remote teaching. We probably can't get through everything that we could do in a classroom. There's lots of things happening when you've got an online class going on. You might want to slow down. Yeah. going to want to repeat yourself. You want to go over things. So people are going to be working at different paces. And because you're not physically there to check it, it's more difficult. You're going to have to be active, but you might want to mix things up. It's difficult for you as a teacher to be doing these online classes, should you have to do them. Okay, we've reached the end. Let's wrap up. So what did we talk about today? The 4 C's of the 21st century skills. Yep. Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication. The way that they work together, the way that they work individually, the way that they are important and can be implemented into your classrooms. Inductive learning versus deductive learning. Yeah. Both perfectly good ways of teaching. But again, if you want to bring the 21st century skills, trying some inductive learning is a good way of doing that in your classroom. We talked about the steady progression of Hangout, Big Show, and English Chess. When you're teaching these books, you don't need to worry about what you're teaching. That's been done for you. Yeah. You just need to think about how you're going to teach it. The content is sound. You just need to follow it the best that you can. And when you teach it with the 21st century skills in mind. Look at every page. How can I make this more of a 21st century lesson? How can I use critical thinking, creativity? How can I get students collaborating? How can I get them communicating with me and with each other? And then we talked about ClassBox and BigBox in the digital classroom, whether that's in person, whether that's online. Yeah, that's for ClassBox for the classroom and BigBox for the students at home. So I hope that was informative for you guys.
Dear educators, it's the end of today's session. Hopefully, this session can provide a lot of information and ideas for teaching development, especially in the current condition. On behalf of Mentari Group and Asta Ilmu Publishing, we would like to say thank you and hope to see you again in the next event. Stay healthy and have a nice weekend.